New York, 1922. The tempo of the city had changed sharply. The buildings were higher. The parties were bigger. The morals were looser and the liquor was cheaper. The restlessness approached hysteria.
Do you want to experience what you just witnessed for yourself? Do you want to live like Gatsby? Do you want to travel back to an era of opulent wealth, riches, and bigger parties? Well, if you do, then you should buy this deluxe package and travel back to the 1920s and live like Gatsby.
This package is a 6-day, 6-night trip to the 1920s. With it, you'll experience monumental events such as the 33-hour flight of Charles Lindbergh, the expansion of the radio, and the upbringing of the Ford Model T.
To give you a taste of what this package includes, here today we have a customer who's already taken the trip and can tell you a little bit of what we have in store.
This trip gave us our very own Ford Model T to travel with in our stay in the past. Cars had been invented before the 1920s, but they never became accessible to the whole public before this time. As the production of these cars became bigger and more widely used, the price of them declined. This being so, the middle class for the first time in their lives could buy themselves their very own car.
Oh wow, really? How much did they cost to buy back then?
Well, you could buy a car for as little as $260. This record-breaking low price shocked middle to low-class Americans all across the country. Also, along with more Americans being able to afford this car, it brought changes to the cultures of teenagers, adults, and families.
How did it change that? I would think that with there being a car, families could take trips like they do now.
That is true. It led to families being able to take their very own breaks and travel, an indulgence that families before could never take. Also, it led to the freedom for teenagers and a way to escape from their troubles. The increasing popularity of the car brought cleaner streets to cities and towns all over America because of the decrease in the use of the horses and carriages.
Wow, and just think, if the great Henry Ford wouldn't have used the assembly line to make the Ford Model T affordable, you wouldn't have been able to use it in your stay in the 1920s. To get a better idea of this luxurious vehicle, watch this video.
There's one car that takes you anywhere you want to go. The Model T. Strong, sturdy, with a will of its own. Here's how they put them together at the Highland Park plant. A car comes off the end of the line every 10 seconds.
This deluxe car is included in the Live Like Gatsby vacation package and could be your form of transportation for a whole 6 days if you buy this amazing package.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the 1920s bring other inventions to life as well? The vacuum, refrigerator, and toaster, all daily electronics that we use today, made big differences to the lives of Americans in the past. Here to talk about that is customer number 2.
With the car, I saw and used many other inventions. One important innovation was the beginning of the supermarket. On my trip, I got to visit one of the first supermarkets in America and compare how different they were from today's supermarkets. However, I noticed that these inventions were more greatly affected the women of this era more than anyone else. Since cleaning and cooking could be done more quickly and efficiently, not only was there a battle of who had a clean house, but now who had the cleanest house and the best food. Speaking of women, the 1920s was a great time for them. Not only did they gain the right to vote, but they gained a certain freedom that was never really experienced before. Yes, most women wore dresses, drank hard liquor, and stayed out late partying. They were called flappers. You may have heard that word before, but it mostly means women during this time who weren't afraid to take risks. However, flappers knew their limits, while the other type of women during this time, vamps, did not. I also noticed how women during the 1920s were more independent. For once, women stayed out late and did what they desired and were not restricted by any man telling them not to. Yes,
Imagine how life would be now if women back then hadn't so vastly changed society. We wouldn't be able to do all the things men can do now without being looked down upon. Before the 1920s, women rarely dated different men at different times as they do now.
Exactly, so all the women today have the women back then to thank for this. Along with societal changes in women, a few major heroes emerged from this time.
Oh, I know, Babe Ruth.
Haha, yes. Babe Ruth, as many of you know, was one of the greatest baseball players of all times. I went to one of his games in Griffith Stadium, and let me tell you, it was quite an experience. Well, for starters, I never imagined my favorite sport would have such an impact on people in the 1920s. All I knew was that I loved the game in the present, and boy, was it an equally thrilling experience in the past.
I heard he's hit 60 home runs in a single season.
That's true. He played for the legendary New York Yankees.
Well, that sounds like an unforgettable experience that would be a shame to miss. Also, if you take this amazing chance and go back to the Roaring '20s, you can see Lindbergh's takeoff. Charles Lindbergh was a famous hero back in the day, with his legendary solo transatlantic flight from New York to Paris. After his 33-hour plane ride, Charles Lindbergh became a legend to all of America and one of the greatest heroes to live.
Yes, and you have the chance to see the start of this expedition, which marked history forever.
Also, another perk to this package is to have the chance to attend some of the biggest parties and jazz clubs that flourished during this era. The 1920s was an era known for these big celebrations and its jazz music.
Wow, I remember my trip to the Cotton Club. Boy, was that an experience I'll never forget. With the prohibition law intact, it was difficult to get alcohol into most clubs, but this club supplied it like it contained fountains of alcohol in the basement. I also remember seeing Al Capone, a famous bootlegger, for a short while at the club before he disappeared.
And here's a short video to give you a taste of what a trip to the Cotton Club would be like. You can watch all of this live if you purchase the Live Like Gatsby package for the 1920s.
Along with parties and jazz clubs, our package includes movie tickets to popular movies in the 1920s, such as The Jazz Singer, which is the first movie with sound, and Charlie Chaplin movies. The pleasure and amusement that is received from watching a Charlie Chaplin movie is something that cannot be replaced by modern-day slapstick comedies.
Here's a clip from the Charlie Chaplin movie.
Desperate with hunger, and here it was Thanksgiving Day. Nevertheless, there was something to be thankful for. Not quite done yet, said the little fellow. Give it 2 more minutes. Come on, said Big Jim.
The movies were a great experience, but nothing compared to Harlem. I would do anything to go back to those glorious days once again and see the Harlem Renaissance itself again. When I time traveled back into the Harlem, it was one of my favorite parts of the trip. The music was fantastic and the clubs were like nothing you could imagine. I saw famous figures like Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington. I also got to see the writers of the Renaissance exhibit New Negro and show pride for their culture and race.
Also, you have the chance to see the live hearing of the famous Scopes trial between John Scopes and William Jennings Bryan. This trial was a battle between the theory of evolution versus creationism and has marked history. It is a very important part of the 1920s and the upbringing of today, and it would be a shame to miss.
The last magnificent experience you will have on this trip is listening to the primitive form of the radio. The radio has a great impact on this era and eras to come. It created a homogeneous culture between people of all classes and races that could listen to the same music and hear the same news.
Yes, and all of these great events and places can be visited during the day, and after partying at night, you can rest in a luxurious 5-star hotel.
My favorite was the Plaza because F. Scott Fitzgerald, the author of The Great Gatsby, often came here to stay with his wife. This hotel, along with the Gold Coast Mansion, served as an inspiration for his novel.
Now the final decision is up to you. Would you rather spend a week of your vacation sitting at home scrolling through your Instagram and Facebook newsfeed, or would you travel back to an era full of fun, mystery, and excitement?
I have to make the decision. The obvious answer: book the Live Like Gatsby vacation package with Brady's Travel Agency. When you travel with us, we guarantee the lowest rates, best service, and highest satisfaction. So, travel back to the 1920s and live like Gatsby. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 20s, we can do what we want. It's the 20s, we can wear what we want. It's the 20s, we can drink what we want. We can drive what we want. We can date what we want. 4 Model T cars everywhere. Bootlegging, cause we just don't care. Women can come out to have fun now. Party all night if they want to now. You wanna have some fun? Come soon to the 90s. Cause we gonna party all night till the Great Depression. Alright, so la-da-dee-da-dee. We like to party in the 20s, doing whatever we want. This is our time. This is our rules, and we can't stop, and we won't stop. Can't you see women can own a night? Can't you see we drink illegally, and we can't stop, and we won't stop. Come to the 1920s for fame. Come for the parties that are insane. Yeah. It's our party, we can do what we want. It's our party, we can drink what we want. It's our party, we can drink what we want. We can drive what we want. We can date who we want, yeah. The heroes here, Charles Lindbergh, and baseball players like Babe Ruth. Remember, come here to see them. Forget today, cause the 20s where it's at. And see lots of new inventions. The shows on the radio. Are y'all ready for the roaring 20s? Come to the 20s. Yeah. So la-da-dee-da-dee. We like to party in the 20s, doing whatever we want. This is our house. These are our rules, and we can't stop, and we won't stop. Can't you see women can own the night? Can't you see we drink illegally, and we can't stop, and we won't stop. Come to the 1920s for fame. Come for the parties that are insane. Yeah. It's our parties, we can do what we want. It's the 20s, we can wear what we want. It's the 20s, we can drink what we want. We can drive what we want. We can date who we want, yeah. It's the 20s, we can do what we want to. It's the 20s, we can wear what we want to. It's the 20s, we can do what we want to. It's the 20s, I can date who I want